I'm filming this at the worst time possible. Number one, my tongue has never been so swollen ever. I can barely talk. So what a great time to sit down and film a whole video. Number two, I am extremely tired and I've got work all day tomorrow and all day the next day. Number three, yep, that's number three. Anyway, what's gotta be done has gotta be done. Here we are. If you can't understand me, I'm so sorry. I can barely understand myself. I have got the biggest list right now, but it's fine. We're working with it. We've got ice cream to soothe my tongue. If you haven't seen part 1 and 2 already, I'm going to put them wherever it is up here. But this is part 3, the finale, about the old man who also lives in my house. This old man was scary, so I'm going to be turning myself into a devil. That's just how it is. Also, I have ketchup here. I really don't know why that's a thing. Anyway, I'm gonna go off camera quick, turn my face red, glue my eyebrows down just because that takes me so long, and then we can get on to the story time. Okay, I lied. So the start of this old... oh my god, this list is actually unbelievable right now. So the start of this old man, from my experience, was in the house we lived in before this one. That house in itself was a weird one. I never plan on going back. Not like I could, but if I had the opportunity, it would be a big no from me. In that house, there was one particular room where everything was really just eerie. Like, it was always the coldest room in the house, even when the heating was on. Everything creaked, everything would move, doors would open, all that jazz, you know, all the fun stuff. And at night, I would sleep in there with my sister, and I would wake up and I would hear somebody walk round the bed. So the bed was like in the middle. Now, these steps were heavier than the little boys. The little boys were also quicker, and I don't know, they had like a rhythm to it, whereas these were slower and more adultly. Is that a word? I don't know. So this is when I believe I first started experiencing this old man. Now, the walking around my room was a nightly thing, so every night I'd blame it on the floorboards, I'd blame it on the pipes, you know, all the stuff you have to blame it on when you're 9 years old, because that's what your parents say. And that was the only thing I would ever get in that house until one night my friend Ella decided to stay over and we were just like playing in the house as you do. At the same time, my little sister was joining in with whatever we were playing. I honestly don't remember what we were doing. I just remember we were upstairs and we were in that room. Now, playing the game isn't actually the point of the story. What the point was that while we were playing this game, me and Ella walked around the landing to come down the stairs, and at the top of the stairs was the bathroom. As we were walking to come around the stairs, me and Ella both heard this old man's voice. No idea what he said, but this old man's voice coming from the bathroom. It was really deep. It was literal horror movie sounding voices, and it was disgusting. And we both at the exact same time screamed and sprinted downstairs. So first of all, if one of us had heard this, like, we could have been hearing things, but the fact we both heard it coming from the exact same place and literally had the exact same reaction was terrifying. Because we screamed and ran downstairs, my little sister was still upstairs outside the bathroom on her own. She was crying. She was terrified. I don't know if she heard the voice or if she was just crying because me and Ella had screamed and ran downstairs. But the fact that we both had a reaction proves to me that, like, it wasn't just one of us hearing things. And that was when the old man really became an official in the household of the Smith. Households, I should say. But yeah, I don't remember much from that day because it was so long ago and it was such a quick experience that there wasn't really much to remember. But that was everything that happened in that house as well. Everything else has happened in the house that I'm in currently. Now, this man was like the little boy in the sense that he was always doing things to the point where it was a daily occurrence and it was so normal that you can't even remember half of them. Also, why do I look so insane? So some of those things would be like talking when no one was outside and it sounded like it was coming from inside your room. Things would move. Things would also shake as if someone had walked into them. Floorboards would creak, but I mean, that could be pipes, whatever. Objects would move around. That could be the little boy. Honestly, don't have a clue who that one was, but yeah, lots of different things, you know. One of the main things that was more scary that would happen to me was this old man would walk into things. He was clearly a little bit clumsy. And one night I was lying in bed in this room when I started hearing someone walking across my room. But it didn't faze me because it was such a regular thing at this time. I also was hearing breathing, but also that was a regular thing. The main thing that actually creeped me out about this experience was when this old man was walking, you could hear it, you could track it along. When it got to the end of my room, I had like a oof, like a physical old man, like oof, and my drawers bumped into the wall and then started shaking as if someone had walked into it. But I couldn't see anything. There was a little bit of light in my room. I couldn't see anyone there. No one was there. But I heard someone say oof. I heard the footsteps, I heard breathing, and then my drawers started shaking. I was watching them move. Like, that is not okay. The old man at this point, clearly harmless, just a little tad clumsy, because he's walking into my things. I mean, I hope he's alright. I hope he didn't stub his toe or anything, but that was terrifying, and I don't want it to happen again. And it didn't happen again. Oh no, it might have happened like another 2 times. Yeah, I think it did happen a couple more times. This old man was also like the woman in the sense that you'd always catch a glimpse of him in the corner of your eye. When my friends were over, when I had that sleepover where I was telling you about my friend Sophie and the woman and all that jazz, if you haven't seen that, it's up here. As I was walking to the kitchen from the living room that night, I walked past my playroom and from the corner of my eye, I saw a man sat staring at the wall. Like, he was sat on my sofa, he was staring at the wall. I walked past, I saw it from the corner of my eye and I froze. Because the way, oh, it was, everything I say sounds so fake, but like to me it's so real, and I don't get how I lived through it, because it was a terrifying experience. That would happen a few times. I'd always see the man sat down there. He did seem to like it down there. He would also be sat in different places, but we'll come to that in a bit. Honestly, this old man was not a bad person. I think he just really needed a little lie down and really needed to be put to rest. So let's hope he's there now. Okay, the camera stopped recording, but I did my eyebrows. I look so different, wow. So with this old man, there's not as much as the others, because everything with him was so regular, to the point where nothing even seems interesting. Like, yeah, he'd walk around, yeah, you'd hear him breathing, yeah, you'd hear him, or you'd see him, like, but it just got boring after a point. Like, I can't tell you every single time I saw him because I can't remember every single time, you know? But one of the scariest things that happened to me with this old man technically wasn't even real, but it was that old man, and it was terrifying, and that was when I would get sleep paralysis. So I spoke about when I used to get sleep paralysis a little bit in the woman video, but I didn't speak much about it. Basically, if you don't know what sleep paralysis is when your body is still asleep but your mind is awake, so your dream state is being shown while you're awake. It's a really weird thing. I honestly hope you never experience it because it's horrible. Yeah, it's not fun. So every night when I was falling asleep a couple summers ago, I would sleep and then I'd wake up in the middle of the night and my body would be completely frozen. I could not move. My pinkies would like twitch, but I was like lying down completely stuck, and it would feel like someone was pushing heavily down on my chest. Now when I'd wake up from sleep paralysis, I would eventually figure out a way to get out of it, and I'd have to move my pinkies, then move the rest of my fingers, then move my hands. It was a very slow, scary process, and when I did manage to get out of it, I would have to force myself over, and it would feel like I was pushing somebody who was lying on top of me off of me. That's how heavily weighted down my body was. But basically, when I would wake up in the middle of the night from the sleep paralysis, I would be staring at the end of my bed, and there would be an old man with a knife in his hand. Now, as you can imagine, that's not very nice to wake up to pretty much every night for a whole summer. And it was so weird as well, because sleep paralysis, like, you see it, it is there, it is so real, but it's not, it's your mind. But it was there, it was so real to me, but it wasn't a thing. Like, it was just sleep paralysis, which is why all of these other things, like him walking into my dresser, hearing him breathing, was also still scary and keeping me on edge, even though it was a daily occurrence. It was terrifying because it was like that man was following me everywhere, and it was horrible, and I really sincerely hope none of you experienced that. After that summer ended though, I didn't get sleep paralysis again, which was obviously really good, but it was a really weird thing that it did just happen throughout that summer. And I haven't had it since, so touch wood that it doesn't happen again, because that was the worst experience of my entire life. And the final story about this old man, like I said, there's not as much because it was such a daily occurrence with him that, like, there's nothing I can really tell you that will be interesting, like it's out of the blue, because it was just like, oh, he's breathing again, oh, he walked into another door, oh, hope he's okay. But this final thing actually happened to my brother, not to me. I didn't experience it, it happened to my brother. Now, my brother's room is a really sus place anyway. If I ever get offered to sleep in that room, I do decline. Everything in that room is terrifying. His door would shut, his wardrobe doors would shut, his drawers would open and close, you know, all the stereotypical horror movie stuff. One thing I should probably say as well is before we bought this house, this woman lived here. She was an old woman, bless her. She lived here with her husband, and her husband died. He didn't die in the house, but he spent his last day in this room, the one I'm in now. I forgot to mention that earlier, but I don't know if that's him. If it is him, hi, Mr. Woodcock, is that his name? I don't know, something like that. If not, whoever you are, I'm Izzy. So the night this happened, I was downstairs in my kitchen with my mum, my sister was out somewhere, and my brother was upstairs in his room trying to fall asleep. So from my point of view, this was the story. I was downstairs in the kitchen with my mum, and all of a sudden the phone rings, the landline. My mum picks it up, and it's David, it's my brother, who's upstairs trying to fall asleep, and she's just like, yeah, okay, I'm coming up. And she sounds like kind of concerned. It was really weird. She then comes back down about 5 minutes later and then says David phoned and said someone was sat at his desk. More specifically, she said David phoned and said an old man was sat at his desk. So he had in fact phoned my mum so she could go upstairs to turn the lights on, because that was when these things would disappear. After this had all happened, a couple days later, I asked David about it, and this is what he said he experienced. So he was in his room just trying to fall asleep, you know, as you do, and his room was dark obviously because he was going to sleep, and there was light coming in from the outside landing. Now David said that he was in his bed ready to go to sleep and rolled over to his right, and at the end of his bed is his desk with a chair, and he said that at his desk he saw an old man sat staring at the wall. That is almost the same way I saw the old man sat staring at the wall in the playroom. Same kind of posture and everything. He said he was quite hunched over, but his head was really set on this one specific part of the wall. So obviously David couldn't move, he was absolutely terrified. So he grabbed his phone, which was next to his bed, and phoned my mum downstairs to come up. My mum didn't see an old man, but my brother apparently, this is what she said, because once again I didn't see any of this, was shaking and absolutely terrified. So yeah, my brother was apparently literally shaking, like jaw shaking and everything, because he was so scared because there was an old man literally in his room. I mean, I don't really blame him. Pretty much all there is to the old man. There's not as many stories as I thought there were. Like, I thought there were loads, but apparently there's not so much, just because this old man was always there to the point where it was just repetitive and there's not much I can say about it. This is the final look, and I kind of like how it turned out. It really annoys me though how I can't fill in my hairline. Also I dyed my hair brown, you've probably noticed that, but yeah, she's back. Anyway, that is it for this haunted episode. I don't know what I'm calling it, but yeah, this is the look, this is the video. Hope you enjoyed. Everything's linked down below if you want to go check me out on social media. Part 1 and part 2 will be up in the little eye as well. Have a great Halloween. I don't know if this is going up on Halloween, but have a great Halloween, and yeah, I want you on my team, so does everybody else. Promiscuous girl. Spooky vibes.